Imagine scheming to kill your father and then you end up dead. And then you find out that you were never the beneficiary in the first place. Ugh, it's just so poetic. And that's just karma, baby. Hello. Today we're going to be talking about episodes 5 and 6 of the K-drama Karma. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jess. I love K-dramas and I just want to chat about it. And don't forget to subscribe to be notified of upcoming videos. So, a lot happened in these set of episodes and we are here to break it down and talk about the finale as a whole. So, grab a drink, get comfy, and let's just chat about it. For this video, I'm going to be talking about the events in 3 different time periods, which are before the fire itself, as well as the present day. And as usual, as I'm going through these events, I'll be sprinkling in my opinions. And then afterwards, I'll talk about the finale and the show as a whole. Starting with the events of the fire, this batch of episodes provided additional context on how the characters are related, as well as gave us some background information on who exactly the witness is. First of all, in a shocking reveal, we find out that the witness and foreigner actually know each other. So the reason they know each other is because they both were in prison together at some point. And I thought it was really cool in terms of kind of having a prison scene. So if you know, I think I mentioned it in my last video, but Park Hae-soo, one of the dramas that he's known for is Prison Playbook, which is a really good drama. And just like in that drama here, his character is pretty much like loved and like adored by all of the prison mates. So when Foreigner is tasked with killing Debtor's father, the first person he reaches out to is Witness as someone to help him in this con. And we also learn that the person who was driving the car that hit Debtor's father was actually the witness and not Foreigner whatsoever. Also, the show kind of like showed us the full scene of what happened, and it was kind of really graphic because all we see is him being like run over and over again, and each time he's literally not dying. And then at the same time we see his church friend who was coming over to bring him a cake, and when she sees his body on the floor, she accidentally like makes eye contact with Foreigner, and then all you see is her kind of like book it like track star style, and she's like sprinting down the alleyway to make sure that she's not seen, and she's able to get away. Hence the ending of episode 1, where she's brought into the morgue as a witness, and this starts the catalyst of the fact that this was not an accidental death. So while trying to get rid of the body, somehow and for some reason, Foreigner decides to strangle Debtor's father, and Witness is honestly rightfully upset because the father needed to die by a car accident, and by strangling him, it literally defeats the purpose. And I've been saying this since like episode 1, but these people literally had one job to do. They just had to run over this man. He had to die by a car accident so that they could get the insurance money. And somehow they like managed to fail literally the easiest thing that they had to do. So the witness has a new idea, and in comes Yoo Jung. So we've already talked about the fact that Witness and Yoo Jung have some sort of history and that it seems like they very much grew up together. But in these set of episodes, we actually learn more information about the con and how they kind of started working on that. So here's what we know about the con. Essentially, the main goal of the con is to drain men of their wallet. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So the way it works is Yoo Jung identifies a mark, and typically that is a man who is a cheater or someone who is like significantly older, that it would be some sort of scandal. So Yoo Jung approaches them, has conversations, they go on a couple of dates, and then just before she seduces them, Witness will barge into whatever room they're in or go to that person's place of work and essentially threaten them with the videos or photos they have of them in a compromising position, and essentially say, we will keep you silent if you give us XYZ. And usually the men, because they are in the wrong, will usually just hand over all of the money. And on some occasions, Yu Jung would spike the drinks of men, which is what happened with Glasses. So remember in episode 2, where we have Yu Jung and Glasses, and they end up going to, I think it was like a motel or hotel, and they end up hooking up. So what happened after they hooked up is that Yu Jung was calling Witness over and over and over again, because this is usually the part where he kind of bursts in, threatens the man, and kind of demands money. But this happened to be the same night of the killing of Debtor's father, so Witness was a little preoccupied and as a result was not answering Yu Jung's messages. So the Witness has a new plan, a way to combine the killing of Debtor's father and the conning of Glasses, basically to bring them all together. So essentially he has Yu Jung kind of fake that call that we thought of her friend needing her to come in the middle of the night. And essentially they tricked Glasses into driving while kind of sleepy and also inebriated, so that he would be right under the underpass as the Witness and Foreigner threw the body over the overpass, so that exactly it would hit Glasses' car in time. So that way they would still be able to blackmail him, essentially basically setting this whole thing in motion. And it was so like diabolically evil. Oh my God. Because I had no idea what to expect in terms of like finding out that reveal. Like I wasn't sure how he was involved. I did think that it was just kind of like conning men and kind of just stealing their money. I didn't think that he had been hired by Foreigner to help in this. And then Yu Jung was also involved and essentially set it up so that Glasses would be there at that exact moment when the body flew over the overpass. Moving on to the fire. So after killing Glasses in, I think, episode 3 or 4, Witness decides to kind of assume the identity of Glasses. So he steals Glasses' car, and then he steals Glasses' coat and puts it on. And then he also takes Glasses' glasses and like puts it on his face. And I was like, there is no reason, absolutely no reason that he needed to be wearing this man's coat. But what Witness did not count on was the fact that Glasses had been followed by 2 PIs, which we've seen in multiple episodes. So speaking of the 2 PIs, we finally find some information in terms of what's going on. It turns out that the reason they're following Glasses is because he's cheating. Not only is he just a cheater, he is married. He also has a pregnant wife at home. So there's so many levels of betrayal happening here. And I feel so vindicated, because since he appeared in the show, literally within the first 5 seconds, and his first line about having more money will bring him more women, I knew he was trouble. I knew there was something wrong with him. I knew there was a reason I didn't like him. And I really appreciate that literally in every episode, the show continues to prove me right in terms of his actions. And even more so after finding that out, I'm even happier, so happy that he died at the hands of Witness. I mean, Witness is an awful person, but I'm so glad that he actually died, because he was an awful person. And good riddance. Honestly, don't feel bad for his death at all, but it also will show you that anyone will cheat. Yeah. So the PIs give the photos of the murder to Boss PI, who contacts the police, and they are able to find the bodies of Yu Jung and Glasses. At the same time, Foreigner has set up a meeting with Debtor because he needs his money so that he can leave, because remember, he did kill a police officer. So the police at the same time are also looking for him. So before the meeting, because Debtor is a clown and we have seen that he likes to get into character, he likes to practice before he does anything. So his plan in terms of getting out of having to pay Foreigner is to kill him. And so what's going to happen is that Foreigner is going to get in the car, they're going to have a conversation, and then Debtor has a weapon at the bottom of the car, and then he's just immediately gonna go like this. But The foreigner is not a fool. Like, he knows exactly what's happening. And he literally saw Debtor practicing in his car. So when Debtor tries to attack him, it ultimately fails. And what happens is Debtor gets tied up and ends up in a warehouse. At the same time, the witness decides to follow foreigner and Debtor just because he doesn't trust Debtor at all. But as he's following them, he learns that the police are actually searching for specifically him. They have a photo of him. And as a result, they are doing car inspections on the road, which is essentially going from car to car, looking at the faces just to see if it is the witness. So knowing this information, he literally sprints. He sprints out of his car and runs into the woods as the police are chasing him. And then he eventually makes it to the warehouse to meet up with foreigner.
Yeah.
So we are now at the scene of the crime, the scene of the fire. So the witness, realizing that this is his golden opportunity. This is the moment he has been waiting for, because the police have an image of his face. They're currently on the hunt for him. So the only way for him to make it out of this is to assume the identity of Debtor, because if he makes it look like he, as the witness, was somehow killed and that now he is Debtor, no one will suspect anything, and then he will be able to make it out of this alive. So when he gets to the warehouse, the first thing he does is he kills foreigner, because then there will be no witnesses. It's kind of gruesome the way he did it, and honestly so messed up considering that they were working together and were on the same sides and they were just partners. So messed up. And then while Debtor is unconscious, witness swaps their clothing. He also takes the Rolex because that was an item that only Debtor has. And when Debtor wakes up, he looks at him and says, "From now on, I am you." And then in another very graphic scene, he sets Debtor on fire and then watches him essentially burn to death. And then, as karma would have it, as Debtor is trying to make his way out of the building after having burned foreigner's body as well, as he's trying to make it out of the building, it essentially collapses on him and he ends up kind of stuck under the rubble, which is the beginning of opening scene in, I think, episode 1, where they're discovering the fire and then they pull him out of the rubble. Back to the present day, witness goes to Debtor's place, which I guess theoretically is now his home, to assume his new identity. And oh my God, this man's home is so gross. There is like food everywhere. There are like cans on the floor. There's papers everywhere. There's also clothes on the floor, and this man also has his mattress on the floor. If you ever date someone and they have a mattress on the floor, that's like an automatic red flag. Like it's really, 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 really gross. So while he is there, he gets a call and finds out that the insurance money has finally been paid out, which also is a little weird considering that he literally did not die in a car accident and was found buried alive. So it's a little suspicious that the insurance money was paid out in the first place. But we find out that the insurance money was not paid out to Debtor/witness. Instead, it was paid out to the church that the father went to, as well as its patients, I think, specifically in hospice. And oh my God, this was so brilliant, because apparently a week before the father's death, he went to the insurance office and had them change the beneficiary of the insurance policy, specifically because he felt like his son needed to atone for his actions in the past. And it's so amazing because, of course, what the witness does is he gets into his taxi, goes to the church, and proceeds to yell. He proceeds to yell at a nun. Like, who does this man in the house of God think that he is yelling at a nun, and he's complaining about the fact that the money is rightfully his, that was his father, and that they need to pay him back. And I love that the father thought of this ahead of time, as well as the nun, because as soon as he says that, the nun literally just pulls out her phone and has an audio message from the father before he died, when he was sound of mind, so that it cannot be contested in court, essentially stating that this was his last wish and basically to suck it, and that he just has to deal with the consequences. And it's amazing. And then as the witness is spiraling in the church, in walks the doctor. So she had hired boss PI to accidentally bump into the witness as he was leaving his apartment to get into the taxi. And what we see is when they had bumped into each other, or I guess when the boss PI had bumped into him purposefully, the reason was for him to swap witnesses' meds, giving him something that was not his meds, essentially to make him hallucinate so that ultimately she would be able to kill him when he's vulnerable. And just as she's about to kill him, her fiance shows up. And her fiance not only just shows up, her fiance says that he knows exactly what happened to her in high school because he's hired someone to look into her past, and that he feels very apologetic for what happened to her, but this is not the solution. Honestly, I was flabbergasted. Honestly, so like, these people have no business being married. Specifically, there is no reason she should have accepted his proposal or wanted to marry him, considering the fact that this man literally had to hire someone to find out what was going on in her life. And also the fact that he didn't know that for the past, 15 years, she has not slept, literally not slept a day in her life. And he didn't know all of this information. Like, why are they getting married? Like, why are they getting married? Like, they should not be together whatsoever. Oh my God. I feel like I'm back to watching Buried Hearts with the main couple, where they literally didn't know anything about each other. This is exactly what it feels like. They should not be together whatsoever. Ultimately, she breaks down crying and decides not to kill him, but she does beat him up a little bit, and then she walks away with her fiance. Later, the witness is at Debtor's apartment, and he ends up seeing an image of that pamphlet from the school, the one that had Doctor's face on it, which kind of also set a lot of things in motion. And as he's looking at it, he kind of has a remembrance of a conversation that he had with Yoo Jung when she was really upset about the fact that she wasn't picked and a doctor was. And we find out, please mentally prepare yourself for this. We find out that it was actually Witness. Witness was the one who suggested the idea of Yoo Jung setting up Doctor to be assaulted. Like, he was the one who put the idea in her head. He was the one who said, oh, there's probably people in your grade who would probably love to take advantage of a woman. It was him. He was the one who essentially did all of this and kind of led all of these things to happen. So it's kind of wild that we've ended up in this situation. Also, at the same time, it was a little gross and uncomfortable seeing that poster in Debtor's apartment, considering that he did assault her and he did violate her. So it kind of feels like it's kind of like a trophy that he has in his home. So again, another reason I'm so happy that this man is dead. Then we cut to the fiance. So we see that he lied to the doctor and said that he was meeting family, when it turns out that he has another job on the side working for the loan shark, because everything in this show is full circle moment, people. So it's also weird kind of seeing the contrast of the loan shark with the fiance versus the loan shark with Debtor at the beginning of episode 1, because he's really so nice to the doctor and talking about how they're gonna miss him at the office, that they're so sad he's leaving. And then before he goes to work, he essentially gives him a gift, and it happens to be Debtor's Rolex. I wonder what's gonna happen next. I would also like to say that for the past couple of episodes, I have been saying that the fiance was kind of shady, hair flip. and I was proven rightfully so. The job he has involves cutting out essentially the organs of people who owe the loan shark money. And the person on the menu today happens to be none other than the witness. And upon seeing the witness, fiance decides to take out his organs, which that was his task for the day. But he decides to do it without anesthesia so that this man will feel all of the pain as payback for the fact that doctor not killing him. And it's so gruesome. It's so bloody. It's so gross, but it's so satisfying, honestly. And then finally, at the hospital, boss PI comes to see doctor saying that he has an update on her case. She ultimately says that she's not interested in hearing any updates on the case since now she is finally at peace with the entire situation. And we learned that the information he was coming to tell her was that DNA results show that witness was actually not debtor. So that was actually not her abuser. But honestly, it doesn't even really matter at this point. And then we see the doctor walk out of the hospital for the first time this show, probably for the first time in a while, with a smile on her face, ready to start this new chapter of her life. And that is the end of Karma. I will say overall, this was a pretty solid drama from start to end, but very minor issue. I really wanted the doctor to be the one to kind of like kill him, just because I feel like she deserves it after what she went through and after all the torture that she's had to endure and everything she's essentially gone through. I just really wanted her to be the one to kill him, just because this is also a revenge drama. But at the same time, I understand what the show is trying to tell me. By not killing him, she metaphorically has cut the red thread of fate that has tied her to these people all of these years. And because of this, she will now be free of this fate and will allow good karma into her life. I agree with the point. I do. It makes sense. Also, when you look at the poster for the show and the red thread of fate, but at the same time, it would have been really satisfying for her to stab him. That's my opinion. On the other hand, I feel like her fiance is only going to have bad karma from here on out, specifically when we think about the fact that he is now in possession of the Rolex, and everyone in the show who was in possession of the Rolex is now dead. Kind of just seems like it screams bad vibes, but also he's going to have bad karma just because of the shady practice that he has been involved with for several years, and the fact that he has also been lying to his fiance. It doesn't seem like any good is going to come out of this. So when we think about that last scene of the doctor walking out by herself, it kind of also makes sense in terms of this new chapter of her life that her fiance most likely will not be a part of it, just because it seems like his time will come at some point because of all this bad karma that will come his way. Also, as I said before, these people really shouldn't be together, considering the fact that she didn't tell him about everything that happened, and he also had to hire an investigator, and then he was also lying about his side job. It's just not gonna work out for them in the long run. Also, it's like so funny that part of the reason this whole thing started is because debtor was scheming to kill his father for the insurance money, and then he ended up dead, and then so many people ended up dead along the way, only for it to literally be futile and mean absolutely nothing. Imagine scheming to kill your father, and then you end up dead, and then you find out that you were never the beneficiary in the first place. Ugh, it's just so poetic, and that's just karma, baby. Other thing to know, I feel like the actors did an amazing job, and the show did a great job at kind of keeping the viewers very much engaged and continuing the mystery by providing some of the clues, but not everything. So for me as a viewer, it was fun kind of learning every episode how the characters were related, or trying to come up with these theories in my mind as well. And I love that as the episodes went on, we were able to kind of find out more information about things that we had already seen, as a way to eventually like tie everything up together in the end. And I thought the show did an amazing job at that. I would obviously highly recommend this show to anyone who's interested in like revenge dramas, or like mysteries, or very interested in kind of theorizing. I thought it was just a great drama, and I honestly had so much fun watching this. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on the finale and if you were satisfied with the event in the show. In terms of what's next for me, there is a new Netflix historical drama starring the one and only, my love, EJ Wook. So I am so excited. I'm so excited. I've been like waiting weeks for it to come out, especially as someone who also loved Alchemy of Souls. I will 100% be covering that show on this channel, so don't forget to check that out. And on that note, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you guys next week.